The point is, what we're trying to say is your view of life and your way of life.
Because you said it's problematic.
It's a problematic. I told you how it's a problematic because it's subjective, and others will disagree with you.
Yeah, but that's the
and you have no criteria.
That you're allowed to disagree
but
with.
What I'm saying to you, there's a better criteria. We're calling you towards a better criteria, and this is where you
I'm
need to.
asking you why having different point of view is problematic. Like if you have different point of view and I have different point of view about something, whatever subject, not necessarily what we're talking about, then why is that even problematic? Why you think all people have to think the same thing in order for
No, I'm not saying people can vary in their thinking. We're not saying you can't think both ways. But what we're saying is your view in terms of what you perceive to be truth. If you hold that to the extent, can be different.
But
you see?
That's why I said to you prior that you just go and move to society that holds those same values that you value as truthful.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. At the time of Hitler,
and another society will believe something else to be true. Like I don't know, for example, Japanese believe it to be true that Japan should be solely for Japanese citizens, right? So this is their truth. If they didn't want to leave that, they would go somewhere where there is different view, right? So there is not really like objective truth. And as I said to you prior, what you're talking about is the probability that 7 times out of 8 or 9 something will be true, right? False or correct. That is not really truth, that's just probability. So we can base on probability and we can agree on different things that it's the most probable there will be sunshine tomorrow, right? That's whether anything, prediction of anything that happens.
I think we're moving away slightly from our main discussion, because our main discussion was actual objective purpose of life. Yeah, objective proof.
And I think something like that doesn't really exist.
That doesn't exist.
There's probability, there's...
So everything is subjective.
Well,
that's the other alternative.
100%.
Brother, can we have this one discussion? So what was your question, Mansur? Sorry.
No, I just want you to clarify. Does that mean everything is subjective?
Well, to the point that you have to exist to participate. But
when we say everything is subjective,
I was saying that there's probability of things happening or not, right? So you say because there's a high probability of this thing happening, then therefore it is correct or true or whatever. That's a true statement because it's most likely correct to what we believe to be reality, right?
My point is, I think, slightly different. When you talk about subjective and objective morality, objective truth.
I'm not talking about morality.
No, about truth. Either things are subjective, or there is an objective reality to this. It's a binary question.
Well, I said to you about the probability of something happening that makes this objective reality, because there's a probability of something occurring.
So the truth is relative.
I said before, over here, that in different societies you will have different truths.
That's what it means by relative. So it's subjective and relative.
Yeah.
So there is no such thing as objective truth. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I was saying
because
that
depending on societal context, time and place, truth can be different.
Yeah.
What is truth?
What do you mean by this question, what is truth? We were just talking about truth for like half an hour.
Yeah, what is it?
Can I step in?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't really believe that something like
what is truth?
Truth is a collective agreement by the community to an end product based on the values previous to that discussion.
Yeah,
so to give you an example, if I don't believe this world doesn't exist, it's an illusion, and you believe it exists.
No, not me.
No, he's just giving you an example.
It's about the community.
That's what I'm saying. If a community of people believe the world exists,
yes,
and I believe the world doesn't exist, where is the truth? It goes against with the community, right?
It goes with the community. So that's why, for example.
Is that what you're saying?
That's why, for example, there are so many different Muslim interpretations of the Quran, because truth.
Do you agree
relative.
with this definition of truth?
I don't believe in truth being a thing at all. I don't believe there is such a thing.
So what is it?
There is no.
So what is it? So what is truth?
It's an agreement.
Truth is an agreement.
It's my agreement with you that your eyes are green and not red. I mean, it just.
So if I agree, if if say a community of people agree, that makes it true.
Yeah, very simple.
So
That's exactly why I said if you move to a different society.
If a community of people agree now today, the French are very bad people, it makes it true they're very bad people.
To that society, yes. And different society, a French society could have a different truth.
Let's have
So one can be easily confused by saying, you know what, truth is relative to what this community of people think, but it's not true to me.
If you were raised...
So what is true to you?
No, listen, if you were raised in Nazi Germany, you would believe the truth is that Jews are bad. It's very unlikely, and Jordan Peterson proved that in some sort of discussions, it's very unlikely that you would believe differently. So your truth is literally based on where you live, where you're from, who raised you, etc. If truth is to be something that is marinated in your head and then pops up and all of a sudden it's true because you have this confirmation bias from your society, then there is no such a thing as truth.
Okay,
really.
let me give you an example to illustrate what I'm saying. If a large community of people consider God exists, then it's true that God exists. Is that what you're saying?
Within that society, yeah.
Yeah. So if everyone decides now, we do not exist, it means we do not exist.
That means
That's
that
the
this
truth.
is your truth.
So the reality,
I can disagree or agree or whatever.
so the reality can be based on people's thoughts about what they think is true, or it could be independent of them. Is that right?
Reality is...
Does this cosmos exist?
Reality is your experience
Okay.
of what reality is.
Does this cosmos exist?
The person with the schizophrenia will have a completely different
Okay.
reality. They will have hallucinations.
Let's go back
and that
to...
will be their reality.
I want to illustrate with this example of the cosmos.
Subjective too.
Okay. Do we see the cosmos in existence?
I guess I don't see
Yeah.
much.
The world around us, right? Yeah, existence. Now suppose all of us agree that this is non-existent. Is that the reality?
I guess so.
But the reality is it exists,
Reality is subjective.
independent of our subjective opinions about it.
No, because we agree it exists.
No, we agree it doesn't exist.
No, what we agree,
If we agree it doesn't exist, does it make it non-existent?
what we're saying, what you're confusing here.
Let me clarify my question. If we all agree it doesn't exist, does it make it non-existent?
What you're confusing here is the fact that we all agree it exists.
No, you misunderstand.
Let me finish.
But you misunderstand my question.
Let me finish.
My question is, if we all agree the reality,
But
we
your
do not
agreement
exist,
of
does
how
it make it
it
non-existent? Is my question.
What the difference is what we agree. Our difference is how we agree it came to be and how it exists.
You don't understand my question
and
and my
that
position.
determines,
Maybe I can ask you again.
reason or logic.
He misunderstood my question.
You didn't
If we
understand.
all agree that nothing exists, we don't exist.
Well, you already asked me this question. I
Now,
already answered that.
now, does it make it non-existent?
Yeah, in your purpose.
In reality,
Talking about
does it make it non-existent in reality? The truth.
You are the only, imagine you are the only camera observing something happening. Then you are the only camera. If you switch off the camera, then nothing that the camera sees will exist. So if you died tomorrow,
The illustration that I gave, if all of us agreed that we are non-existent, the reality
Yes.
is what I'm asking you.
But it's been insincere.
Is their existence in reality, not what we thought and we agreed upon?
I don't think there is an objective reality.
I didn't ask you that.
There are human beings that by genetics
I only asked you.
to perceive reality in particular schematic way, and then they view it.
See, if we
I
all
don't
agree,
believe that. For example, if you ask me, do I believe there is a fifth or sixth or seventh dimension, but we don't view it? Yeah, if you can prove there
You see,
is, then there is. But I cannot see it.
my simple illustration was of the existence all around us. The fact that
You basically asked
the,
me
the, the fact that
objective, and I
the
think
fact
there
that
is no such a
the fact that you and I are speaking to each other is because we consider each other as existent. Now suppose we all agreed for whatever reason that we do not exist. Does that make us non-existent in reality?
Only if you agree, right?
But you said truth is
In reality.
But there is no community that would think that form.
What is the answer, sorry?
There will be always
If you
somebody that would
decide
say,
that you
I
don't
think reality
exist, then I
does
guess you
exist.
don't. I mean, I have
Therefore, it does
nothing
exist.
else to tell you. I asked you a question.
But you know very well in reality, we exist. Doesn't matter whether this person or you or me decide that we don't. The reality is independent of our opinions. I may believe there's a tree there, or I may believe the tree is not there. The tree is independent of my belief. The tree exists independent of me.
You base on an idea that there's an absolute truth. I don't believe.
I've just demonstrated there is. So you are saying, if we all agree that we are non-existent, in reality that makes us non-existent. And yet we are talking.
Because no one agrees on what you said.
Two non-existent beings are talking.
I didn't say I don't exist.
But if we agree that we don't,
But I didn't agree with you.
He's right.
what if people do? Because your definition of truth was agreement. If people agree. Suppose we agreed. We gave you money and you agreed.
Did he agree I don't exist?
Imagine we paid him. I paid you
And that
for the sake of argument, and then you agreed. So yeah,
I see.
we don't exist.
Well then.
Our agreement doesn't make it reality.
Sorry.
Our reality is independent of what we think. If I think that tree is existent or not, the tree exists independent of my thinking.
So I had this question prior. How do you explain higher dimensions?
What dimensions?
Just higher dimensions.
No.
There's three-dimensional space, right?
Yeah.
Then there's time. We live in that sort of part of what is possible, right? So how do you explain dimensions that you cannot perceive?
We can only talk about dimensions that we know of.
So your purview is restricted, right? So you have to.
We have to operate in this world with the rational faculty that we have, with the tools that we have, to discuss things rationally and logically. I cannot just simply say, oh, a triangular circle or a squared circle exists somewhere else, because in our reality it doesn't exist. So I have to operate with this kind of rational understanding in this reality.
Perfect circles don't exist. It's the opposite.
Triangular square?
Perfect circle, for example.
I didn't say
don't
perfect.
exist, right? Or
Triangular
perfect
circle.
Square, or perfect triangle. That's trigonometry. And
Triangular circle? Triangular square?
What you're talking about was invented by humans.
No, I'm
That's
talking
not
about
invented by nature.
there are things that we operate because of our rational faculties.
Not because you called something to be this or that. The tree is a tree.
Do you live your life according to certain principles, logic and rationality? Of course you do.
Yeah.
So that's what we operate our lives and our understanding of reality on. Our reality,
Agreement on what reality is.
so if I agree God exists because of my agreement, right?
To you, yeah.
No, to you as well, because I agree God exists, it must be
You didn't
agree.
agree with me. I don't agree that God exists.
Then basically it has nothing to do with truth. It is just simply my word play. Oh, I think I am the president. Okay, I am the president of
Yeah, but
Zamunda.
God.
Does it make me a president because I think so?
Brother, can we have
So
one
how do
discussion,
you
please?
recall to materialistic, factual, tree is a tree to a God is a God when you cannot perceive God really? So
What is
like,
God?
how-
What is God?
Something that was invented by people to cheer themselves up, to reinforce their own grandiosity.
Okay.
That's God.
And what is the qualities of God people are giving?
It's a magical father there in the sky.
I don't call him the Father.
That,
I don't call him the Father.
well, different religions call it the father, different religions.
I don't.
Well, you don't have to. I'm just saying.
So your understanding of God comes from a belief system in which
I
they
don't
call him.
understand God. I'm not pretending I do, and I'm not interested in trying to understand God because I don't believe He exists.
And what's your reason for that?
My choice.
Choice.
There is no other reason
Okay.
besides that
If I
chose.
choose to believe that you don't exist, you don't exist. It's my choice, right?
Just to you.
No. If I don't believe you exist because of my choice, you don't exist.
Well, maybe He believes I exist.
No, I don't. So you don't exist, right? I just want to understand the.
You? No.
I want to understand the rationality, the logic that you're using. So if I choose not to believe that you exist, it makes you
But
non-existent.
we are talking about God, and you're talking about rationality. So I don't.
I asked you the reason why the reasons of non-belief in God. You said choice.
Yeah, I don't need God.
Yeah. So I don't need to believe that you exist
So don't.
because I don't need consider yourself you're important enough in this life.
But you're comparing something that you can see right now in front of you to something that is imagined somewhere else.
Imagined.
Yeah, pretty much.
What color is gravity?
Whatever you imagine it to be.
And
If
whatever
you
your
imagine it
community
green, then it's
agrees.
going to be
But you believe in it. You imagine it and you believe in it.
Community agrees.
You believe in gravity without seeing what color it is. Without your senses telling you,
Can it be proven though?
of course not.
Can gravity be proven?
Have we found gravitons? The units of gravity?
Well, then you would suggest that it's a particle.
Have we demonstrated that through any evidence? Have we proven it in the lab? Of course we haven't.
God?
We're talking about gravity. You believe in gravity.
You're talking about God and you compare it to gravity. It's not the same thing.
The reason I am saying this is this. I'll tell you why.
And I never said I believe in
Gravity.
You just assume.
So why does that thing fall?
Situation, if it's a strong
You know, when you drop the ball, why does it fall on the ground?
Because it has its own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, is that what you believe? Do you believe in that?
No, I didn't say it.
Okay, why does it fall on the ground?
Oh, he's
Because
an
it does.
insincere.
Because it does. Is this a good enough rational explanation?
He's taking his
Do I have to
position.
understand everything and I have to prove that I understand
You
everything?
see,
In order to say, oh, I don't believe in God.
Just
I
to
mean,
demonstrate
you
it's better.
expect way too much
These arguments are
of
absurd.
my rationale, why I don't even believe in God, whilst you give me no reason to believe in one.
now I asked you the reasons for your non-belief, then I can understand.
I don't have
Wait,
to tell you. I just told you that it's my choice. If I said that
then how can someone even give you any reason to believe? Because it's your choice at the end of the day.
if you are able to convince me that there is one,
Now, how can we convince someone when your conviction doesn't come from any reasoned approach? It's only choice.
there are reasons I haven't that I haven't
Give us that
told you.
reason. This is what he's asking. Give us the reason.
You're asking me to excuse myself why I don't believe in God, that nobody proved God's existence. How can you be so entitled to expect me to prove you that God doesn't exist, which you can't prove in the first place?
Who said we can't prove God exists?
To prove it.
Hang on. Where did you get the idea from God cannot be proven?
Sorry?
Where did you get this understanding that God is beyond any proof or evidence?
Can I see God now? Can I?
So let's understand. So
no,
you're
no,
so
I don't have personal. That's why I'm saying.
two things you've already said.
Personal experience. It's something.
So you mentioned about two things. The criteria they've mentioned already. Can I see God? Can I experience God? So you're putting God into your reasons
You've been
that
doing
you have to
for the
see.
last
You have to see Him.
so
You have to experience
trying
Him.
to make God material and compare it to
Okay.
material items being produced by other.
Have you seen my brain?
I can see very well.
No, you haven't seen my brain because I haven't shown you any X-ray images or MRI images of my brain. So you haven't seen my brain, and you.
We can agree it doesn't exist.
So you believe I don't have a brain, right? So you believe I don't have a brain because you haven't seen it.
I don't see it perform.
Sorry?
I don't see it perform.
Your criteria was
I believe you're
in
moving around, so you
the
must.
criteria in accepting to believe there is a God. You have to see Him. You believe I have a
I
brain.
did not say that this is a condition, and all of a sudden.
You mentioned it. Did you not mention it? We
I
can't
said-
see Him.
Because you're asking me to excuse myself why I don't believe in God. That
You gave a reason. You can't see Him. You can't see my brain. So according to the extension of your logic, perhaps my brain doesn't exist.
It has to, because you're moving around and you're talking.
Right.
But
The world moves around, right? The world moves around. You're moving around in this world. Can this world be a result of absolute nothingness in the distant past?
yes.
What is absolute nothingness?
Well, it doesn't really exist.
So can it make something if it doesn't
Because
exist?
there will be photons moving.
So can absolute nothingness, which doesn't exist, make something like you and me?
Why does it have to be made?
Can it originate
It
something?
just happens. Things happen.
Why-
The problem about this is
I
you're
think-
talking about things that are.
I think we are now getting somewhere. If absolute nothingness doesn't exist, can it originate something that does exist, like you and me?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I'm a bit tired.
If absolute nothingness doesn't exist,
Yeah.
can it originate, while being non-existent, something like you and me? Or the universe, the cosmos?
I know everything. Do I
That's
know
not my question.
Yeah, pretty much is.
Absolute nothingness. Absolute nothingness.
To answer very complex,
Simple question.
physical question.
Nope, it's a very simple question.
Well, I'm not really a
You
physicist.
think
It's a very simple question.
Doesn't mean it is simple because you call
It's
it
simple because he already has an answer. God is the answer. If your answer...
Who's jumping the gun now?
Sorry?
I didn't say God. Absolute nothingness.
That's
You
where you
have
get
spent the
it.
whole
Absolute,
interview jumping
absolute
the gun.
nothingness is the absence of
Accuse
everything.
this wonderful lady.
Yeah.
Such an act is disingenuous.
Absolute nothingness is the absence of everything. Absence of energy, absence of matter, absence of quarks, absence of
So
quanta.
there is not really absolute.
That's what I mean by absolute nothingness. Can this absolute nothingness, which is non-existent, originate or bring about something which is existent, like you and me?
But how do I know?
Very well. You know it very well already. That's why you're not willing to say it. Because the consequences of telling that is quite shifting in your paradigm of thought. Absolute nothingness, I can tell you that you can assert with 100% certainty, it cannot bring about anything.
So,
Because it doesn't exist.
but I already said that it doesn't exist. I said there are
So can it-
photons in the vacuum. So
I'm not talking about vacuum. I'm not talking about vacuums. I'm talking about absolute nothingness, whereas there is no vacuum, whereas there is no photon, where there is no quantum fluctuations, whereas there is no virtual particles, simply devoid of everything.
But we're basing the whole conversation about the watchmaker fallacy. Why are we even doing this?
I asked you-
tell me that because nothing cannot create something, which is not true. You have antimatter and matter, and you have neutrinos jumping between those two.
Let's talk about this. Antimatter.
Energy
Is
and
antimatter something or nothing? Is neutrino something or nothing?
I don't know, you tell me.
Something.
That is your definition of
Something.
reality, right?
Something.
We need objective
No, something.
reality.
I have been consistent with my
You
definition,
want to know more than
but you have not been consistent with your definition. Or have you been consistent with your definition?
Not being consistent.
When I say absolute nothing, it's the total devoid of antimatter, photons, neutrino, quarks, hadrons, leptons, gluons, everything.
But you're asking me a question about
I asked you-
nothingness that was supposedly 14 billion years before I was even alive.
There was not nothingness, there was something always.
Like you know the answer now, what happened?
Do you know why I know the answer? Because
Because you believe it.
No.
I don't.
No.
You believe you
Not
know
because
the
of that.
answer.
You
I
believe it because your
you
community
never
believes
know
not
the
because of
answer.
that, not because of
You
that.
believe it because your community
If
believes
something
it.
exists now,
That's why it's
there
true.
cannot be absolute nothingness in the past. That's why I believe,
Why?
because absolute nothingness cannot make something originate
How
something.
do you know that?
That's what we're arguing.
If I have, to give you, let me illustrate what I mean by that. My friend who's not here,
Why people used to believe that if it's raining from a cloud, that is
Sure.
nothingness, really. That there's a cloud, looks like nothing, it's not solid, it's a gas. How come it's raining? People had an idea about that.
you understood what I mean by absolute
Because of
nothingness,
that.
right?
So there will be eventually time
Firstly-
where God and His existence
Firstly,
will be the bank.
you understand what I mean by absolute nothingness. Am I
I
right?
don't really know, because you're asking me very complex questions about physics,
So,
quantum physics,
when I say nothing-
and things happening 14
Okay.
years later.
I have a wallet.
Only a theory.
I have a
I
wallet.
would never know the
I have a wallet
answer.
in my pocket. If I said I have no money, nothing, what do you understand by that?
And that's what this lady's saying.
That you have to get a job.
No. How much money do I have?
I don't know, and I'm not.
I said nothing, no money. So how much money do I have?
It depends how much material items you have that you could sell,
No.
and how much.
In my wallet,
Through getting a job and
in
work.
my wallet,
That's
if I
your
said,
money, whatever money you can create over your lifetime.
if
that's
I
your
said
money.
in my wallet I have no money, how much money do I have in my wallet?
Who called it wrong?
I just answered that question. You asked
Which
me
is?
the exact same question.
What is the
over and
answer?
over again.
What is the answer?
The answer will be not different. I just answered this question. I said that you have as much money as you are capable of creating, as you are capable of earning, as you are capable of taking whatever you have on top of you and selling it. That's how much.
How many? How many?
I'll give you. Now you have money. This is money.
Yeah.
So,
How many cat is in your cup?
sorry?
How many cat is in your cup?
Hats.
C-A-T, cat. Dog, cat. How many cat is in your cup? Real life cat.
Go have a look.
I'm asking you.
2 right now.
Okay, nice talking to you.
No.
Take care.
It didn't run off. It didn't run off. That's very great.
Can I give you this back? Take care.
With his and
There you go.
and this lady was trying her best to answer his questions. Every time you decided to change the rules of the game.
That's his one. Because I have